Start.
We're alive. I'm sorry.
We've got enough to get through.
We should always do the same. Yes.
We're gonna call to order. We're gonna get started here. Meeting Administration and Legal Affairs Committee, Wednesday, August 7th, 2024 at 5 p.m. 1.0, 2.0 prayer.
I can do that.
All right, thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this group that's here this evening. We ask that you would share your wisdom with us as we look to do the work of our county. And we just ask that you would bless each one of them here. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. All right, 3.0 approval of agenda.
So move. Second.
And a second.
Aye.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And then 4.0 approval of meeting minutes from the July 10th meeting. I'll make a motion to approve. I read through them a couple times. Didn't see anything.
Either.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So moved. 5.0 approval of claims. So I have, I'll just read the bottom total here, $228,927.49.
No. Move approval.
Okay. And I'll second it. Any conversation or anything in there? No. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 6.0 public comments. Here. We will move on to 7.0 departmental reports and 7.1 county treasurer.
So my report, the first page of the many outline and handout you have is this one right here. Just give you the rundown. My share of claims is $168.47. So that teeny tiny percentage, just want to share that with you. So I did bring a couple copies of the financial report, but I did email that link out Sunday night. Because of the first tax distribution, total county funds as of the end of July were up almost 1.6 million, which is good news for everybody. So another 6 investment vehicles matured in July with over $117,000 in interest across 5 different funds. So pretty happy with that. As July ended, there were 7 other significant investments right now earning some interest, and they are currently at 5.7 million across, again, several different funds. And you can see again, all the yellow, all the colorful things happening there. Yellow is matured stuff. So right now I haven't had as much chance to pay attention to different investments. So I'm going with what I usually do. My time's kind of taken up completely by tax distributions. So that's sort of my focus, but we are still doing really well on investment. I think the lowest rate of return I have is 5.0. Okay. I'm still pretty happy with that, considering what it looks like the Fed's about to do anytime soon. So does anybody have any questions on this? It's just, I just want to always be clear, because the first page looks like, second page rather, the cover, you see that like there's a swing of 6.5 million. That's just money mostly moving within the funds. It's this page that I consider to be the most important, which is page 4, because that gives every fund, and there are multiple sources of revenue, and it shows you really at the bottom what the total net difference is. So they look very different, but they're giving you the same information for the most part. So I know sometimes it looks like it's repetitive, but it's not exactly the same thing. So I just wanted to be sure everybody, all the color coding made sense to everybody. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
All right. So moving on to property taxes. As of yesterday, 51.39 million collected, which is 58.62% of the original amount levied. So pretty good. More than half. So we'll take it. Since the first installment due date has passed, second one is September 13th. Next up is mobile home bills, which are kind of just a blip on our screen, really. They're only about $60,000 if they get paid on time, and a lot of them don't. So it's kind of a minor revenue source for the county. Those will be due at the end of October. Second distribution of property taxes is going to hit all the districts tomorrow. And it is the largest single distribution of the year. Almost $33 million is going out the door. 4.059 is coming back to the county. And if you flip your sheet over, as of last month, you can see the breakdown of where those dollars are going. At the top, the very last column shows you that amount that's coming to the county as a total. And you can see how it's broken up across the different funds. The beauty of the settlement sheets, if anybody reads them, is that as we go along, you see not only that sheets, that distributions data, but you can see the cumulative data as well. So whatever you're looking at as the most recent is also all of the data. So,
Want to read it again?
Now,
so there leaves another, for the county, another 4.4 million roughly to be collected and distributed. So I think we're moving right along. And also at the bottom of the reverse side, you can see where the mill rate stands in terms of collection there. So that one's just where I would expect it to be, with another 130,000 or so left to collect. So everything is moving right along as I would expect it to. We are hoping to, time might be a constraint this year, but we're going to try some more friendly reminders this year. We did them last year and people didn't think they were so friendly. So I'm trying a different approach. I thought they were friendly. I think
They
you
were
getting a
very
reminder. But having the amounts on them, I think people weren't so excited about that. So now I have a postcard that basically says, we haven't received a payment from you. Period. If this is a mistake, please give us a call. Just so, there's so many people that it's difficult to get an address when people change, it's very, very difficult. So I'm trying to catch people who may have fallen through the cracks, people who got sick, people went to the hospital, people who, there are just a lot of different reasons why someone may have missed their first, the bill.
Sure.
So kind of a little bit of a safety net, even though we do send the certified delinquent notices out in October. That's the mean one, that says we're going to sell your taxes. If you don't pay, I'd rather go with a little softer approach. Like, hey, here's a reminder. So hoping to get to that. I think I bought 10,000 postcards. So I don't need 10,000, but I had a deal. So hopefully that will be coming next week, right along the same time as we get ready to do mobile home bills. So we're keeping on. Any questions?
So I know we did the friendly reminders last year.
Yes.
Despite people's reactions, they were pretty effective.
They were
weren't
very effective. Yeah. They were really, really good too. And again, tracking down more weird address situations. So it was the one thing that sticks in my mind is that someone sent me one that said, well, this isn't very friendly. I owe you more money. And it would have been worse had you not.
Little animal stickers.
Yeah. That's why, again, my kittens at the treasurer's office.
Even at the college level, a little sticker on your test.
Gold star,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
They love it. They love it.
We'll put you on the sticker committee then.
Yeah.
So, that reminds me, sorry, I wanted to let you know the situation, how it went with the kittens, and I think it was a smashing success.
It was.
I think the deputies we had there for only 2.5 days were wonderful. They were engaged with the public. They sat and talked with them. They greeted them. They said goodbye. They could not have been more friendly, and it went so well. And then the kittens, man, that was something. It was the people that, not to stereotype, but people I would not have assumed would be soft fuzzy kitten lovers just melted when they saw, we let them run around and everything. So I really think the temperature was really dialed down with, I don't know, I can't say which one was more effective.
I agree 1,000%.
But it was a very different vibe from what we're used to having. So
That's what we needed.
and kittens got adopted.
Yes,
Oh,
they did.
So everybody went. So we're
Nice.
Kristen and I already talked about it, and I've already discussed it again with the sheriff's department that we think we're going to repeat both of those options. So
Maybe we should have the kind of board meetings.
there's some pretty cute kittens over there. So.
We're doing it for assessment notice.
I just have a logistical question, because I don't think it's happened here, but if somebody mails a check
Mhm.
and it doesn't get there through the mail, what is the process that you do?
Legally, it's not our problem if it didn't get here. I mean, if they sent it, it's kind of like when people say, I didn't get my bill. I'm like, well, I sent it, you can control the postal service about as much as I can.
Right.
So basically, I consider it, the statute is very clear. It doesn't matter if you ever got a bill, and if you mailed your check your checking account, see if it cleared, and basically it's kind of this is a responsibility of home ownership. Check on them and make sure they were paid. It's not their fault it didn't get delivered, but it's their responsibility to make sure they're paid. So, but we're still getting occasionally a couple things dated July 19th. Because we'll take the postmark,
Okay,
so,
yeah.
I mean, it's rare now, but it's, the postal service just has not, it's a mystery.
Yeah, because we're still getting returned bills for the ones.
From May.
Yeah, that they sent in May. We got one last Friday.
Yeah.
Last
So
Friday.
it's a battle that we continue to fight, and I don't know how to fix it. Because
So if it shows up with a postmark,
if it shows up with a postmark, we will credit it as that date. Absolutely. But we have encouraged people, this has to be United States Postal Service postmark. It can't be a Pitney Bowes where you could change the date kind of one. And I have suggested to people every year, if you're one of those people who wants to, stand on that slippery slope of going to the last day, walk into the post office and watch them hand cancel it in front of you. Because at 6:00 p.m. on the due date, you drop in that box, it's going to be too late. So that's why too, we also keep our door open. The building has allowed me to keep the door open downstairs till like 6:30 to give people who work later a chance to use our drop box, and we'll count that too. So I think we give them, I gave people 7 weeks this year, and most counties give them 30 days. So
Ogle didn't even give you 30 days.
So it's actually technically you only have to have 30 days from the date that I drop them in the mail, which I think is harsh. For the biggest bill you pay all year, I want to give you a little more time. So
I will say, just hopping down during text, and it was much more pleasant. I don't know if it was
almost festive.
it definitely was a different vibe. The normal feeling on during that time on the floor. So
Okay, very good. All right, let's move on to 7.2, county clerk.
One thing Stephanie didn't mention was she coordinated the county booth at the fair. So thank you to her for coordinating that from our office, but same time at the county booth, as well as the veterans tent that they had to try to enroll some veterans in our honor awards program. So fair week was busy. Yesterday, we held the election judge certification class at Highland. New location, but I think we, as well as those that attended, really liked the location being at Highland. And for the 2:00 class, we had over 100 people attend. So that was fabulous to see the room full of people. And then the 6:00, we had a little over 20. So a couple people didn't attend their class or couldn't attend. So we will do follow-ups to schedule some classes with those individuals. I just received a polling place accessibility survey that I have to complete. So that's a 12-page survey for each polling location.
Oh,
So I'm going to be a little bit busy doing that, but there's also the polling place accessibility grant that we got last year. We got $10,000. That was for the ADA accessibility booth. That application is not out yet. They're behind schedule. So possible we can use some dollars to do a third party to help with that survey. If not, I'll be going out to those polling locations to complete the survey. The lovely vote by mail postcard that we are required to send out by statute should be dropping in the mail by Monday. Today's the first day by statute that we can send them out. I think it's as soon as they can go out is 90 days before the election, and the last day is 45 days before the election. So we're dropping them on Monday so we can get them back sooner, but something a little different this year, a little different format, because last year, well, previously they were a little bit confusing, but people can now opt out of receiving the vote by mail. If they're already signed up, they will not receive it again. That changed in the statute and they can opt out now. there's a red box at the bottom and it says, I wish to opt out from the future vote by mail postcard mailings. And since we are required to send it out, I just added a little blurb at the top if they're interested in being an election judge, since we already have to send it out. So that should maybe be hitting your mailboxes in the next couple of weeks. Did receive news that we received the IVRS grant through the state. So that's $52,000 we received. Well, we'll be receiving. That's nice because that will likely include our fixed costs every year that we have for our voter registration system, which is around $25,000. The candidates guide, that was important, the 2025 candidates guide. That was released on July 29th and petition circulation began on July 30th. So that is, once I received it from the state, it was on our website. So I've been receiving a lot of questions regarding already the 2025 election as well.
Question.
Yes.
Jasmine, I know you probably mentioned this before. The petitions went out, they're being circulated earlier because their deadline is earlier, right, for the spring election, municipal election. Did our primary move up too?
No.
No.
The date of the election is the same. And unfortunately, I don't have the date read with me,
I think
but
it's like
the date is the
March
same.
25th or sorry after.
February is the primary.
Okay, the primary is in
April
February.
will be
So
the
why was everything moved up so much?
why is it moved up?
Yeah,
The reason that they were moving the filing period up was because there was objection proceedings continuing on when a ballot needed to start being printed and prepared. And I mean, if it got objected at one level, it could go to the traditional objection process, which would take longer. And they were going through that process when they needed to start printing up ballots.
and this is a statewide.
Yes, that
Oh,
we changed it this spring.
I just couldn't remember why. I knew we did. I just-
It's throwing people off a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think that's why the state didn't have the candidates guide out, because we weren't prepared for those to be moved up.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
So the grant delay for the assessment, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you anticipate any long-term effect now that we're getting, 3 months?
For our budget?
Yeah.
I don't have she didn't give us a time when it's gonna be coming up. She said she's been assisting their legal department with a 9,000 page objection. But last year at this time, we had already knew how much we would be receiving, and I haven't even received the application to fill it out yet. So that's kind of unfortunate for us.
Very good. Let's go to 7.3 supervisor assessment.
I just have two little quick things. Stephanie had mentioned her claims. I know nobody objected, but I just wanted to address it. The claims are higher technically because of, it's not out of my office, but because of our rent. So every year, we have to do a new contract. And Georgia and Brian Dawes up at Stewart and Associates meet, and they both are very, very busy people. So it took them a little bit to get. So I had the large amount was because of May, June, July, and August. So we paid 4 months in one big chunk. So I just wanted to point that out so you guys were aware of why, and it will go basically back to normal. And if I remember correctly, Brian and you both told me it wasn't going to go up too terribly much. Last year it went up a bigger amount because they had to put a roof on, and there was no big maintenance this year, so it's pretty much just whatever electricity and stuff like that. But I just wanted to, if everybody would look line by line, that's why that large amount is because it was 4 months worth of rent instead of just one. So
And to clarify that, it's not a new contract, it's in the contract, we go over
we
the
have to- Right.
We call it the CAM, it's the common area maintenance fees. And so it's the cleaning, the electric, those maintenance things. So every year we sit down and figure out what that's going to be. So.
I just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that.
that's good. Thank
The
you.
only other thing, my office has been fairly quiet other than I have been working on this large project with Nada and, Stephanie. Mr. Cabela has, decided to put on a seminar, I guess is the best terms for it, over at the library tomorrow. Saturday. And Stephanie and Maida and I have been very diligently trying to get the correct information out because as you can see, this one is, by statute, you can't appeal your property taxes. So our really big concern was that they were gonna, and they mailed out all these postcards that they're going to come in, hand a postcard into Stephanie or I and say, okay, I'm not gonna pay my taxes because I can protest them. So I have had many emails, I've had many phone calls with Mr. Cabela's representative that is doing that. So that has taken up a lot of my time on Saturday. They did not inform us ahead of time, but I don't have any plans. I really don't want to be there 4 hours to be, I think, screamed at. But anyway, I will be there for most of it. Stephanie had plans, Maida had plans, because like I said, I found this, I have a little app on my phone, that's Newsbreak. That's how I found out about it. So they never let us know anything. And there was so much misleading information. And the thing of it is, we try to get to them that we want people to come in. We want people to understand the process. But the way they worded it is that they can come in because of their high property taxes and just come in and do that process. And then by that time, it's too late. And then that hurts everybody. The other thing that we really did is they think that they need to go through this big, long process for simple little things. Like he said that they had to go through property tax appeal board and all of this in order to, let's just say, because we're all human, we go out and we take a picture of your house and different things and you decided to take a bathroom out or something like that, or, maybe the tape was twisted and it's a wrong measurement or whatever. So if you call the office when you get the notice, that's why we try to send the notices in the fall. We can easily make a change, adjust things, different things of that. That's why the statute has us do the property assessment before the actual property tax bill. So I have spent a few, actually at least 2 or 3 days per week since this has gone out, trying to straighten people out. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of it because has been other people that have contacted. Go ahead.
Andrew, I'm just wondering, this was something that Representative Cabela put out. Representative Cabela did not notify anyone that he was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Do we, as the county administration, do you have to be there?
No.
I mean, if this is him just giving
No.
out information, or is it better to be there?
That's why we want to be there, because of the simple fact we've gotten some things straightened out, but I don't want to disrespect on anybody, but the person that was representing him promised me that he couldn't change the postcards with the property tax appeal. So he was going to change everything electronically. Today's Wednesday, right? On Monday, I got Brad Hartog came in, he had to come into my office and he got something on his phone and it still electronically says. And then one of my employees, her sister got it. So they got this little thing that was electronically, and he promised that he would do assessment. So I went up and I talked to Brian Stewart just to see how it all worked. And then he showed me, he did one when Ron was here, and it was beautiful. It said property assessment appeal. He had 4 or 5 little steps on the thing. He had a list of all the people to contact. He told you, he described the levy, how that affects it, how the tax rate, how the different things and how that all goes.
Okay, I'm just wondering, that was just my
We
question.
decided as a whole, Stephanie, Maida, and I decided as a whole that we want to be there.
So all 3
Because,
of you are gonna be there?
yes,
For as much as I can.
yes, yes. To make sure that the right information gets out instead of the wrong information. Yes,
So when you talk to these people about what they're gonna present on Saturday,
Mhm.
did you get them?
I did.
Did you get them to
I did.
realize that they made?
I did. This isn't the
accurate
latest. He was
information?
supposed to send me a final copy, and that's what I was gonna bring you guys. This was just the first little, but, in particular, this copy, he's got, all these little red things.
Okay.
Were all the things that we suggested. The first thing was that he put the deadline. The first thing was brought out that you had to have your property tax appeal in by August 31st. There's no deadline to do any of it, and each deadline is different in each county. So,
Can I jump back in here? So
Yeah.
my question is, are they gonna present accurate information on Saturday?
they're supposed to present the information that we all changed.
Okay,
That's why we're going to
okay,
make
just to make sure that they are. Okay. I just
But
wanna
they
make sure
still
that-
haven't changed the name. And when I did bring it up, this was the most painful thing. He told me it was semantics. And that was my,
No.
I'm sorry, I almost lost it because it's not semantics.
There's a proper procedure. We wanna make sure that they're presenting
Assessment,
that.
tax.
Assessment and
Yeah.
taxes are two
They're not
different things.
interchangeable.
That was my biggest thing. And he's like, oh, we're not trying to wind people up, but you are,
Oh.
because every
The
person that
timing is exactly intended to.
Exactly.
Sure.
Of course.
The other thing is, none of us are dumb. We are the second highest property tax state in the
Sure.
county. I love when people come and tell me that, and I'm like, yes, I'm like, they're like, we're the highest. I'm like, no, we're the second highest. I don't want to be a smart ass, but I'm aware, sir, I really am. But the
Okay,
other
well-
thing is that there's, there are steps. And I will tell people, and I want to tell people that they are doing studies. They understand the process is broken. My committee, and I'm sure Stephanie's committee's in the same thing, and even with the tax levies, the last couple of years, they've done different studies on what they can do to help.
What can we do as a committee? Is there anything we can do as a committee? Can I just add to a little bit of, so, once I indignantly marched 5 flights upstairs myself. And so, but, we actually had a nice conversation and, the reason they used property tax appeal is they went to the PTAB website
Yeah.
and basically just took their verbiage, but only part of it. They didn't go down below where it says we only have jurisdiction over assessment. So we had a couple people go, well, I got this thing in the mail, so I have to pay my taxes. So no. And I think it's gonna be okay, because I think the gist of the discussion is more going to be process and procedure. And I think now with our input, they understand what that looks like a little more. They're also going to touch on, hey, there are several exemptions you can apply for.
Yeah.
Or did you know that? And I also let them know for seniors, there's a senior income tax deferral. It's not an exemption, but the state will come in and pay your taxes. And there is no income threshold like there is with the assessment freeze. But when your property is sold or upon the death of the homeowner, then it's a lien, basically, that has to be paid at that time. And hardly anybody does that.
Right.
Not that I don't necessarily say I want to recommend it, but it's an option I think few people know about. So we were basically pushing other options, more just information instead of,
Yes.
bringing pitchforks and, that kind of
Right.
stuff. And I let Mr. Cabela's staff know that I actually give presentations throughout the state on the whole tax cycle. So I would have been really happy to talk with them
Yeah.
about how to do this and how we could have expanded it into something, that would have been, I do think it's going to be okay.
It's
because
better, yeah, yes.
My colleague in Boone County was also not a fan of the information that went out, and we talked, and he actually had a person from his office who went to the one in Winnebago County this past weekend. And so I think that is going to result in some changes of how it's presented here.
Okay.
So it didn't start out well, but I'm hopeful that with us there to answer the questions and with them just giving procedural data, that I'm hopeful it will actually be beneficial.
I guess one more question. So from the feedback you've got from the public,
It's
So
been minimal,
far-
just been a couple.
do
So,
you guys
So
feel
far.
comfortable with the situation you're walking into?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, because we don't need another thing we
Bring
get
me,
up there.
you want me to bring it?
Maybe
Yeah.
take the kid. No, you know what I'm
No,
trying to say though. is-
I think that we have seen their slideshow and we made some changes and recommendations or suggestions for changes. And I think they really have dialed back
Yes.
the angry taxpayer stance
Okay,
in terms of here's how this works situation.
I just wish we would have been contacted before.
Upfront.
I will tell you though, the last conversation I did have with him, that he said that John would like to do this on a yearly basis. And he assured me as much as he can that we will work together
That's
on the next one, because now they know and things like that, and they will do that. And Maida was sitting in the room with me when we were discussing, and that makes us very happy because we're already doing, one of the board review members, Mark Christensen, she is a realtor, and she's having us speak now every year at the realtors, because a lot of the realtors, right or wrong, they give them certain advice, and we just want, like Stephanie said, we just want the right data out. And we're not trying to hide anything. We're trying not to encourage anybody from not appealing or whatever, but we want people to understand when you're paying these high prices, this is what's going to happen. And if you still want to pay the high prices, that's fine. And for certain people, there are different breaks and different things and whatever. So you just want to know the process. So that's what he
Okay.
said. So I'm hoping to keep on his radar, since I literally talked to him twice a week for the last 4 weeks.
Okay. Thanks for
Well,
keeping
good.
us in the loop.
Yeah, good job
You're very
trying to
welcome.
get that balanced and.
It's gonna be fine.
And,
It is,
yep,
it's gonna be
yep,
fine.
no.
Well, I didn't,
It's just,
it
I'm
was
glad you
just,
caught it now instead of walking into a firestorm.
Or the Monday morning after.
right.
Yeah.
It just caught me off guard.
Yep.
When you open up your news feed and this is what you do for a living and this is what's gonna happen and nobody, that's.
Oh, we
yeah.
all.
Yeah,
Okay.
so basically that's what I've been doing. Other than that, my office is quiet. Like I said, it is Freeport's revalue year. They're doing everything great. We did have a very large appeal, so that's hung over from PTAB, so that took a little more of her time. She's hoping that she can get her stuff by October 1st. And I'm going to have everything set and ready and stuff like that. So then we should be good to go with earlier than we were last year.
So the next cycle begins.
Now
Yeah,
it's time.
yeah, as soon as I hand it off, then I can start my next cycle.
Very good. Any questions or?
Have you had any, the continuing ed stuff going on too on top of that?
Did I do not this last, no, not this last month. I haven't done anything. I'm waiting to hear, for when I do my test, I have a cycle that I have to do every 4 years. I've actually got all of my classes until 2027 all completed. So, but I will obviously take more or whatever. The next big step though is they are going to offer a class for my CCAOI test. So they're going to do a class, they're going to do a study guide, and they're going to aim it more towards real life things instead of pulling out all the formulas that the computer does and stuff like that. So that is my next class because I want to get that taken care of. So
Get it. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Keep moving here. Let's go 7.4 county administrator.
Our next city county meeting is next Monday, the 12th. At the last meeting, we did talk about the anti-violence peace march that just took place in the city, as well as we've been sending them the monthly updates from the crime suppression unit. So the only other thing that we've been involved with the city since last month was there was the ribbon cutting on Monday for the funding for the Locust Street project. So that is completed. Creative Report Partnership, there is no July meeting. Our next meeting will be August 24th. John Bosco has been hired as their new development services manager. Andrea did bring him to planning and development to kind of meet the committee, but he's been shadowing her in a lot of the events. So if you see a new face, he is in that position now. A number of us attended the UCCI conference. It's very well run again. I did just get the PowerPoint slides from all of the presentations. So for those of us that were in the golfing event and missed the other ones, I've got those slides. I'll be sending them out to the whole board soon. The ones that I attended were state's attorneys and county boards. There was a discussion on the interactions and relationship between those and the Cyber Navigator program. I am happy to report that all of the strategic planning focus groups have all met. New leaders have been appointed to all of them. So things are moving along with those. A number of second, third meetings have already been scheduled. Some action steps moving right along. So there's things happening with those. July 31st was the second meeting on the broadband discussion from R1 Planning. I was able to get that information out to the Reliable Communication Focus Group, and Mr. Jogerst attended that meeting as well. Wally has been working on the landings and the park and providing weekly updates. He did come and speak to planning and development about some budgeting things that he would like to present for funding moving into next year. FOP labor negotiations with Sheriff's Department still ongoing. The next meeting is Tuesday. We are hopeful that that will be, if not the last meeting, close to the last meeting to get those agreed to. This morning at the department head meeting, Ms. Whipple from the health department was going to present information on a grant that they received for cancer screenings for all employees. Unfortunately, she was unable to make this month's meeting, so she will be presenting that next month instead. So we talked more about creating a survey for employee retention satisfaction things. We had a discussion on the health insurance and a lot of favorable feedback with the HSAs. And took questions and talked about the budget timeline and things like that. So that is all I have.
George, you might want to check that GFP date. That's a Saturday in August.
Oh, well, it's not August.
Don't think you want to do that. 24th,
28th.
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 Let's go with
There
that.
you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll update that. It's on my calendar, right? I just can't type. Thank you.
Very good. Let's go on to 7.5, IT manager.
give you an update on everything we got going on right now. Started doing some wiring in the old first floor treasurer's office at the courthouse. The sheriff's department is moving a new unit back in the back of that office. There was like a little cubby with a window. They walled off, and there's going to be like 3 desks back there that they asked that we get wired up and going. So did that this week. Furniture will be going in, and then they'll have a unit sitting back there. That's about all the details I have on that. I just set it up so people can come work. So it's ready to go, and they'll be in there. We'll be working on the rest of that office once the Helm Group and the HVAC project's done, and they got a lot of stuff in there right now, and they're kind of using that as their headquarters. So once they're gone, we'll be wiring that up for a complete media room, press release room type deal for the courthouse. So that'll be coming sooner rather than later. So a lot of projects going on right now. Still working the ETSB 911 project that they're looking just to get a schematic of the network, see how everything's working, making sure there's no holes in the 911 process. So I am set to meet with them again in a couple of weeks to go over their evaluation, and then really I'm just there to help facilitate. We don't have a lot of control over the city and 911 and what's going on there. But sometimes they need some questions into the network back on our end. So that's what I was there to help facilitate. Took them to the jail, the public safety building, and then in the courthouse. We've done that a couple times now. And so I think that project will be wrapping up with the network portion of it. And then they'll be moving forward. They're doing a central square upgrade for the city and the county as well. So the big news you guys are probably looking forward to is the county boardroom project is about 90% complete. Spent last week with CTI in the county boardroom, running some wires for them to connect to, testing out all of the equipment. I will tell you what's in and working is very slick. I think it's really moved us into this century as far as technology goes. We'll be able to plug up at the podium if somebody has a presentation. That'll go to different TVs. We're going to be able to share the presentations on the actual Comcast feed as well. And it's just a really elaborate setup. And where I sit for the county board meetings in that side room, I now have 2 40-something inch screens in front of me that allow me to dictate the cameras and what they're doing, and we can move them around. And so it should be a very nice setup. The bad news about that is that in our testing on Friday, we were having trouble getting it to communicate with Comcast. The transmitter box that we have at the courthouse may or may not be too old for our new technology. So that required an adjustment in the project, which was an unforeseen cost. They sent us a bill back for like $1,500 to get some parts that will hopefully allow the 2 to talk. There was no money left in the grant that Chanel did for this, so I had to make a judgment call. There was no time to go through the normal channel process, so I signed it. It'll come out of my budget, maybe county board budget if we have to. But if I didn't, there would be no chance we'd be ready for county board here in a few weeks. So I'm looking to hear back from them by the end of the week to give me an ETA. I'm guessing it'll be next week. We'll be back in there testing things and trying to make sure that we get that done and squared up before the next board meeting. So it's really nice. I mean, we have 3 cameras now that we use in there. We have multiple monitors for people to see. They put multiple speakers above the audience, so they'll be able to hear better in there. So the only thing we didn't upgrade that wasn't a part of the grant was the actual sound system itself. But with the new technology it's going through, it should improve a little bit anyway. So the next phase, or if we get a grant or have the ability, that'll be the next thing that we'll try to do, is maybe get that sound system swapped out as well. So and then the last thing I just really have to report on is we all heard about the CrowdStrike worldwide outage we had. I have July 26th in my report, but it was actually the 19th. I went back to confirm that date, but I don't want to say it went well here. It was 8 hours of chaos for us, but we triaged perfectly,
It saved us all,
Yeah.
so.
So, I gotta thank Three Rock and Mike Munda. Mike Munda stepped in for some of the offices here. Three Rock, we all had to dispatch in different areas because we had to cover the whole county. Courthouse was of major importance, so we didn't lose courts that day. Had them up and going before 8:30, so they were able to still have court. Then we had to focus on the nursing center because they couldn't give out meds because they have a vending machine out there that requires the network. So it was just a big ball of chaos. I knew something was up. I got a text at like 6:30 in the morning. And it was actually our circuit clerk, and she goes, "Hey, I got this blue screen," and it was just her at this point. So I was like, "Oh, that's fine. I'll fix it when I get in." I was thinking it was just one machine.
The blue screen of that.
So yeah, so then I was laying there, and then my phone buzzed again. I'm like, seriously? Well, it was one of my IT buddies who never texts me at 6:30 in the morning. He goes, "So did this CrowdStrike BSOD for blue screen of death thing get you?" And I was like, "Oh, did it?" Oh, I went back and looked at Chanel's thing, and then I got into Ninja, and we were down everywhere. And I'm like, "Oh, get some."
Tax due day too.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, here we go." So I don't want to say I expected the worst, but my expectations weren't high. I'm like, "We're just going to do this one thing at a time." Contacted Three Rock, and then Mike Munda got involved. And I mean, I feel like for what we had, we knocked it out pretty quick and avoided it. I know there are some concerns with some board members going forward with CrowdStrike. I don't have the full answer with that going forward. I mean, they are stamped for elections and everything else. I think it was just a misfortune, and it wasn't an attack. It was a oversight in an update that they did by one of their employees, and my guess is he didn't work there after that day. So that was pretty large, but I mean, even they were pretty responsive. They tried to put out a cloud fix to fix things faster, but overall, I felt like for the magnitude of what that was, it could have been worse. So
Nate is being very modest.
He
I
is.
can tell you that I got a text at 7 letting me know I might have some problems because the fix required you to physically touch each affected system. And I had 2 down in my office. We were up in half an hour.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
he did a fantastic job of making sure we didn't lose any productivity.
I only had one that was affected and it got right back up.
yeah, luckily, I mean, it hit probably 75% of the county. We had about 25% of the machines that hadn't done the update yet. So that saved us a little bit, but yeah, it was just pure chaos. And I was when we got done with that damn line, I'm going home. I was tired. It was just adrenaline overload.
Oh, sure.
And then like a week later, I forget that we have a satellite office for the health department in Galena.
Whoops.
Yeah, and I was in the middle of the courthouse from the county boardroom and everything, and then they're like, "Hey, our one machine in Galena doesn't work, and we have clinicals today." And I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me!" And you physically have to go there. There's nothing I can do remotely or whatnot. So I end up dispatching John from Three Rock. I'm like, "I'm tied up with another project. You got on a trip to Galena?" So we sent him over, and he got him taken care of. But overall, it was a hectic and busy month, and I would like to say this month will be better, but there's just a lot of projects going on. County boardroom will finish up. Hopefully 911 will finish up. Then I will be working on that media room, like I said, and then we've got possibly a new badge thing going into the courthouse as well that I got pulled aside for when they were walking through. And so there's always something. So I'm looking forward to, right now, I feel like we're being proactive yet reactive, and I'm not able to focus on like the big plan right now. So.
Good job.
One little dumb logistical thing. Would it ever be possible to have a port or a USB port or any, so that if we didn't have these charged at the board meeting, we could plug in? Because there's no power anywhere for us. Not that I need it. I mean, I try to remember the day of to get it charged, but
I,
there's been times that I haven't.
$1, I'll print it all out for you.
Yeah.
I do think it's in the sheriff's plans. I know the county boardroom's gonna get an overhaul. We were waiting for all the work to be done because they had to cut holes in the walls and stuff had to be patched up, painted and such. I do think the plan is for that to be upgraded, including your tables. And that'd be a table feature, because you can get those tables that have to plug in the USB ports right in front of you and whatnot.
Mhm.
So that'll be something I'll mention to him, that we'll look to do. If I would think that's gonna be fine, but if it's not, there's other things we can look into, but
I just a thought.
no, I got you. It makes perfect sense. I'm always looking for, I usually have like 5 pieces of equipment going, I'm trying to charge at the same time, so. People come into my office sometimes when I'm actually there, and I'll have like 6 machines on my desk, and they're like, oh, you're busy, I'll talk to you later. So, but yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I will say, you guys will be impressed by what's in there. I mean, I had an expectation, and it went way past what I thought we were gonna have, so.
Great.
We even got a hearing, I don't know what you call it, but it helps people that are hard of hearing, like a hearing aid type
Hearing
system.
assist.
Yeah, hearing assist that they can put on the
Nice.
headphones and hear. And then we've got these nice little hockey pucks that you can plug into any device, and it has the ability to shoot to the TVs. It's kind of built into the system, so it's pretty cool. So I just have to remember there's one input that if I send to the wrong TV, we get feedback, and I did that and about wet myself the other day. It was a nice little learning moment. So I'm hoping not to do that during a board meeting. So got some more testing to do, and I hope to do that next week too. After that, I want to sit in there, and I'm probably going to bring the chairman in and a few people just to get familiar with it and the setup, and just kind of go from there. So it's all
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, 7.6, report from strategic plan. Effective government focus group. You have anything on that?
Mr. Matterode.
Oh, awesome. I'm looking around at that.
So yeah, we met, pretty good conversation, I thought, dealing with a lot of how we can be the most complete in the efficiency and streamlining a lot of our services that over here. And the thing that came up time and again, and I'm sorry, Nate, but was the value of an internet system, which I know has been talked about at a number of different levels. But as far as data collection, as far as unifying documents and communication, that seems like it would be a great first step. So one of our first things was, what would that implementation take, and would we even be able to?
We absolutely can, and please don't take this as me throwing the chairman under the bus. He's been a busy guy. I've met with our Revise that we have our website through now, and there really is an add-on that we can do for the internet.
Oh.
I just didn't know what it was going to look like or what people envisioned. So I did reach out. I want to sit down with Scott and, kind of get a grand synopsis of what we're looking for, because that'll determine the cost of the build. And then once we got that, I can make it look like we need. But I have been in contact with Kyle from Revise. He actually just emailed me today, and I'm like, look, we've had a lot of moving parts. Not only is Scott busy, but if I get free time to even have a conversation, I'm lucky. So I was hoping next week is board week, right? So I was hoping to maybe get some of Scott's time and move forward with that. And again, I can't give you a timeline or what that would look like, but it has been talked about. It is on my list, and I have had meetings trying to move forward with that. And then there's the other avenue we can look at. SharePoint technically could be an intranet as well. I mean, we all have the ability to connect through Teams and SharePoint. You can set up an employee portal there that you could have documents shared, keep stored out there and such. So there's a few different avenues. I do think the intranet's the best way to go. Everybody has a username and password that they log in with that are employees for the county, and kind of go from there. So it's just nobody's fault, just so much going on.
Well, as you just outlined, you had other fires to put out.
Yeah.
But a lot of what we talked about, and a lot of what was outlined in the strategic plan, we all kind of kept coming back to that as one, at least good starting point of a solution. I'll report back. Would you have any interest in coming to the next subcommittee meeting if you're available?
When are those?
It'll be August 26th at 5:30. If yes, fantastic. If not, quick email blurb would be just great.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, that's,
So, yeah.
yeah, it'll be, in the next room over.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, effective government. Yes, sorry, I couldn't confuse it with parks and facilities. All right, the other, thing that was brought up is, an HR director and a grant writer, a full-time grant writer. Both positions, the use and potential for those, throughout the county seems abundant. The issues that have come up is some departments already have an HR director. And some departments are really good at writing grants. And so what we, started talking about is we can contract some of that work. We can get an outside contractor, and that's what we would like to start investigating, some different avenues for HR and grant writing, on a contract basis to test how much we use it, how effective it could be, and then down the road at some point, 2 years or whatever, we can revisit and say, oh, maybe it turns out we do use that all the time. Maybe a full-time position would be something to investigate. But again, the whole point of the subcommittee was unifying all the different houses that the county entails. And so HR certainly has its place, and especially as we're about to go into budget, the more grants, the better. And if we had someone who can, again, unify joint applications or have it standardized and know what all the moving pieces throughout the county were, that's only going to help. I mean, the money is out there. If we had one person whose job it is to look for it, I don't see how that would be a bad thing. And again, this kind of half step of a contract first to see how much use it gets seems like something we would like to pursue. But those are the two big categories, the internet and then HR and grant writing. We're kind of starting with and wanted to see how the committee felt about those pathways.
Sense, is that something we need to, where would we put that in the budget?
Well-
Contracts. Is it budget season?
You're right. That might end up being department by department, depending on who needs it. But if that's something we can look at and have a more solid answer for you, because if we were gonna get shut down, we didn't want to do more work than we needed to.
I think that makes sense to do that step. And see how you're gonna use that, and you actually get a payback on that.
Yeah.
All that. So
So is that what Fairgram does? They look on behalf of municipalities and government agencies, they search for grants, depending on what's needed.
I know they have done, I'm sure they would be one of the avenues we went to.
And then they write it.
Right. I don't know how widespread,
People are all the way down to Savannah.
they get
I mean, as far as different, like, disciplines.
they would get a portion of that.
Sure, well, yeah, you gotta turn around and pay
It's
them.
built into the
Yeah,
grant.
a lot of them.
Yeah.
R1.
R1 does Blackhawk Hills does it, Greater People Partnership does it.
Right, I would think, I would suggest you guys look at Blackhawk Hills,
Well, yeah, we'll look at
lots
lots of them,
I
but
mean, Fairgram, just to find out what they do, that they can do for free. Free is our friend. But if they're already out there doing it,
yeah, we're not looking to invent or start anything.
no, but even just
But
as a consultant.
engage in these contracts and encourage it,
Right.
and again, streamline the process, because some departments, again, really good at writing these, really good at going to those contractors. Some of them don't know what a grant is.
Right,
And so the more we can kind of light that fire and again, standardize that encouragement, yeah, and whoever the contractor is, bid it out or whatever.
So like a good first step there. I don't know that much about grants, but it seems like you're gonna have to look at a whole bunch of different areas.
Well, and that's the other thing, like, because we have so many different departments with so many different things to consider. One contract might specialize in 2 or 3 of them, but maybe not everything the county needs. One other thing, on that subject, was suggested, and I'm gonna reach out, that Highland might actually have some, students looking for a cheap internship. Again, cost effective, that could at the very least go through some of the grants and some of the emails and some of the things we get approached about. So we'll see if they have interested parties looking for a small part-time internship in local government that would help us just sift through the sheer mountain of information out there.
I was,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
can,
Yeah.
I was just gonna add before I left the meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Since I started the meeting till they appointed a person. The topic 2 came out about a survey
Yes.
to send out to the department heads on if they felt there was a need for both HR and grant writing, and if they would utilize them, to what extent and what responsibilities, or what they would envision that looking like. So I think they're kind of tandemly working on the survey, and
Yeah, from the outside, we think the need and potential use is pretty obvious, but we'll
Getting
go
the
to those department heads and again, see what their familiarity is and all.
HR though, that maybe one position, no, not you. And, you know, do it through a software. Instead of pushing that HR thing out to all these different departments. To
possibly
me, that would make sense.
there was a lot of conversation in the
Okay.
group. You know,
Here.
the larger departments have HR directors that handle it
Oh,
for
okay.
their departments. And because of the diversity of the need within the county, there's, right,
Okay.
there's a lot of conversation, you know, HR typically does fall in our office, and between Rayanne and I, and working in tandem with the labor attorneys that we are provided through our liability. We've been able to handle everything so far, but
And again, similar to the grants, because so many different departments have different needs, different specialties.
Okay.
Trying to figure out the best way, which is again, why we were thinking, oh, maybe on a contract basis for as.
Gauging.
And again, 2 years down the road, I might come back and say, no, we could really use a full-time position housed here or whatever, but for now, this seemed like the wisest, most cost-effective.
So that was your first meeting?
Yeah, this was,
I think you guys covered a lot in the first meeting there, so.
and in relatively short order, we were actually on kind of a tight schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty, let's keep moving. 8.0 old business, there is nothing there, so down to 9.0 new business. We're gonna review and approval of proposed fiscal year 2023 budgets. Excuse me, that says 23.
Oh, yeah.
Oops. Well, we're gonna review them. We're just not gonna approve anything. We talked about that earlier, that it's like we don't need to approve them this month. Until next month. But we can talk about. We can talk. Let's do that. Okay. So, administrative services. You're up.
I'm not trying to circumvent the system usually.
Sure.
I have to leave soon. Is there any way we can just go over mine real quick or move me up one?
You're right after me, so go right ahead. I have no.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, it's here. 603. Everybody should have a copy of that. About 19,925. It's opening up here slowly. All right, are you guys ready?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Really, the only changes in my budget, is the 4% COLA, for my position. the contracts I built in a 5%. Larry made sure that I had that in there, which made perfect sense. I almost had an oversight, but it's a 5% increase from year to year, basically, for the cost of stuff going up. The biggest change you'll see is in our Microsoft licensing agreement. It went from it's over 100,000 now. They changed up their licensing structure, and something that we used to get one license for the whole county. Every user now has to have this license, which is like the 2FA, the multi-factor authentication, all the extra stuff that we get on top of our Office stuff. So that requires us to have a license for every user now. That's what the reason for that increase there. There's really nothing that we've added. It's just they changed their structure. A lot of people are changing their licensing structures to make more money, it seems like. So this is just another thing that we have to do. And then I think that really was about
I
it.
think that was it.
So
I think that 5%, I mean, that was a little, but I think that's about what.
I think it'll be fine. And then again, I feel like I'll have a little bit left in maybe other areas that could cover if there are any overages. I'm not trying to. The one thing I don't have in there yet is like server upgrade type stuff. And that's just more for maintenance and things that come out of the woodwork throughout the year. I don't even know what number to slap on that. I was thinking around 30,000 because of the fact that licensing or anything that we have to get is usually per user. And if we have to do anything, or if we have to do any upgrades, a server, I mean, you can spend 5 to 10 grand easy depending on what we're doing. Ideally, we won't need it. I just would like, I don't know if you guys want me to build a buffer into mine, or I just come back to contingency if something happens. I really don't have a contingency line. Yeah, so I don't know what the right
Line item was that covered under before?
I don't think there was such a thing. That's just it. I'm trying to be proactive.
Okay.
Under GIS.
It was under
Yes,
GIS. Okay.
I had the contingency line. Under
For
GIS,
servers or just a contingency line?
a contingency.
I think every budget, some of them all have a contingency budget of some sort, I think.
I think the
but
majority of it.
the
are
IT
for service
the IT
and
budget
IT and
didn't.
stuff.
So, I mean, I don't care how we do it. I just feel like we need something in case, something goes sideways. That's what we don't have built in there. I feel like we've upgraded a lot and we're in a good spot, but you can never predict the future. So I don't want to come to you later and say, hey, this happened and I didn't say anything and I didn't. So that's where I'm at with that.
Okay.
The only other thing that I talked to Georgia about today, and you guys can tell me to go fly a kite if you want. I know some people are putting in like supplementals for raises above the 4% and things of that nature. I am not asking for a raise above the 4%, but what I am asking if the county could find it in their hearts to maybe give me a cell phone stipend, considering I use my cell phone 24.
We did.
Yeah, no, I don't have a cell phone stipend. So if I could at least get my cell phone paid for the next year.
That seemed like something that would logically.
Yeah.
I want you to ask.
When we
for
talked
it.
about
Seems similar. I assumed it was kind of over.
Yeah, no, there's not. So, and I found out those were a thing and I was like, oh. That's weird because I wasn't getting that. So,
this will be presented.
So I would say let's get a number for the server maintenance figured out and we can get it passed next
I'm
month.
going to sit down with Free Rock when we all have a free moment
Right.
and just come up with like not a worst case scenario, but like if something were to go sideways, what do we think we would spend?
Right.
And then I'll get that back to you. But overall, the lease line item that's in that thing is that's that line of credit or the line of money we've had from years ago that is just being paid down. We can't use that again, but it's in my budget until it's gone, if that makes sense. So I'm not spending that and I'm not dropping that number. That's just a part of us paying back what was originally borrowed before I was here.
And then cell phone stipend, we want to put that.
I don't know how they work. So I don't even know what the
Put that so
process
it's visible, just so it's visible, so we know.
How do they do that with Dale? Doesn't Dale have
Is
that?
it payroll? Okay,
Yeah.
so it's visible to date your internet.
Treat you the same way we do.
Yeah, okay.
So I had some questions.
Thank you.
Try to keep it in line with what
Thanks,
we're
Brian.
doing.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
I think we're good for now. So,
All right,
thank you.
you folks have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Don't be alarmed. I am leaving early tomorrow. I'm heading out for a conference for our church. So, I'll be off a little over half day tomorrow and all of Friday. So I didn't quit. I didn't. And Three Rocks already lined up. So we're good to go.
Okay.
You folks have a
Very
good one.
good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Oh, you're up.
Am I not?
Yes.
I did pass out a hard copy, just if it's easier to look at. Everything's pretty self-explanatory in the notes. The COLA increases either per my contract or per the budget policy. I did decrease the overtime secretary hour. We have not used any of that this year, but I'm ready to get rid of it altogether. But felt I could decrease that. We're pretty good with staying status quo with everything else. The photocopy paper prices did increase. I want to say it was $1.73 a ream or a box. We're okay going into next year because a lot of offices have done better with using less paper. And we're able to keep our order the same as what we ordered last year and still be under budget this year. And I think we'll be okay moving forward for next year with that. I did increase the mileage just with the mileage reimbursement costs going up. And a slight increase in my membership for my professional organization because it is salary based. So as that moves up, increase that a little bit. Otherwise, that's the gist of the administrative service budget.
And I asked you about the photocopy paper thing. That order's actually coming up here soon. That's why you
Correct.
got
We
zero
order
so
that
far.
every.
That's why there's zero. So
Yeah, there's zero used thus far. I think our quote that Rayanne got when she placed the order this afternoon is like 7,600, 7,700.
good.
So.
Good.
But yes, that is a one big hit once a year, right? Summer.
So,
Yeah, it looks a little skewed because it doesn't get used
Yep.
usually
Okay.
until.
What do you need, a motion to approve?
well, we're not gonna
We're
approve
gonna
anything
hold
right
over.
now.
We
Because it
can't,
is-
because it says it's.
We were gonna approve it anyways. To the next month, but
It's fine.
okay. All righty, let's go on to county treasurer.
All right, so you have my giant color coded one right here. So, your call green means something's been added, red means something is asked to be deleted, yellow is a change. So if we start at the top, 906 county treasurer, this is a general fund budget, so there is no revenue component because we're one of the general fund where everything gets dumped for. So the biggest thing, the other piece of paper I gave you, you'll love, is the Stephenson County personnel report. I'm not requesting really a new position. I'm retitling an existing position and actually increasing the salary based on duties, which I probably should have done 2 years ago. And so my deputy treasurer is also the payroll manager for the entire county and has never really been compensated for those additional duties, which are numerous and critical, actually, in terms of, everybody getting paid, tax reporting, tax payments, W-2. I mean, it's a myriad of duties that have been performed at no additional compensation. And I'd like to make up for that. And I actually have within my budget to remedy that this year, starting with the next pay period on August 10th. But I'm asking that to be put into the county treasurer budget next year by removing the deputy treasurer line and substituting this line at a slightly higher compensation rate. And I've kind of balanced that a little bit and the details are in this form, instead of giving that position the 4% COLA, only giving it 2%, but it's getting a higher salary to start. So I'm trying to walk a line there without, I'm not a budget bufferer. I try to really stick to what the expenses should be. So every dollar I put in my budget is what I expect to spend or manage. So I'm not putting any cushions in here. This is exactly what we're going to pay. And I didn't know that I needed to really convince you of the importance of that position, given that you all get paychecks from the guys, so you know that it works. So I really do wish I had done it sooner, to be perfectly honest. So I feel like I'm playing catch up with this position, but so it's not a huge addition, but I do consider it a necessary correction to my personnel budget. And my salary is by resolution. So that is not, and it looks a little more than that, than a percentage, because you have to remember with elected officials, our payroll year starts December 1st. And so we have to pick up the next year that from that resolution, which is a higher amount. So it's a little bit different. It's a couple $100, I think, is the difference. So, and then the chief deputies, the straight 4% COLA. I did just kind of massage some of the other lines in that budget, but nothing is really dramatically changing. It's just a little bit inflation,
Inflation, yeah.
obviously. But again, I really try to manage the budget as much as I can. And my philosophy is kind of if I need something and I didn't budget for it, well, I'm going to need to go without it until the next budget year, or cooperate with another department, make something else work until such time. Or, the contingency in the general fund is the last resort, but I think we need to really manage our budgets instead of pad them. So that's the expense line that's gonna come. So again, there's no direct tie to a revenue source in the general fund, although treasurer fees do go into the general fund to the tune of at least 125 to 175,000 a year. So if you kind of want to look to a tie to, I can kind of tell you that the fees that I put into the general fund more or less support those operations. Any questions about the 906 budget? So then moving to the Fund 46, which is treasurer automation, because that is its own fund, you do see a revenue component. And this, the only change I wanted to make there, that you see in yellow, is the primary revenue source is automation fees. And it's titled tax sale automation fees, which is a misnomer because that's only one source of automation fees. So that's why I just wanted that simple change. Things that fund that are, there's a fee with every parcel that's sold in taxes, copy fees, file fees, when people need a duplicate copy of their bill, all those fees create that revenue line. Interest income has been really good. So I just was playing it conservative next year. I really am a little nervous about what the Fed's going to do. So I'm keeping it the same. In cash carry forward, I have a cash balance that I have $94,000 in this fund right now. So I always put the cash carry forward in there. I don't necessarily always use it, but I do sometimes, just to make sure that I can take care of all my expenses. But, just like with most funds, we don't budget everything that's in that account. You just budget what you need. So it's a very, very modest budget, 27.4. Then if you look down to the expenses, I wanted to do away with the salaries that were there. We did that in 21 as a stopgap. Remember when COVID turned our world upside down and we all had to move money around? I had some of my salary and my chief deputy coming from this fund to kind of ease some pressure on the general fund. And so that's done and over and gone away with. So we're taking that out, and also the related FICA expense at the bottom. Those were all tied to that year. Let's try to do whatever we can to help the general fund. So those are going away. So part-time help, just a little bit less than what I've had this year budgeted, and everything else is fairly close. Computer supplies and my miscellaneous tax expenses I bumped up. Miscellaneous tax expenses is primarily the publication of the tax bills and the home bills and the certified delinquent notices. Those are huge costs. Now, you just saw that there's been another postage increase, although postage doesn't cover this budget, but so that really is these are just kind of market driven increases. And I do have a couple of contracts with my office equipment that drive those costs. So those are pretty solid. So, and I come in $100 beneath. So, but again, it's small budget relative to the big county picture. So. Next, any questions about that?
That's good. Oh,
I got 10 minutes, Larry.
okay. We're gonna have to keep moving here real quick. Let's go to county clerk and report.
Yeah, I will start with the one that has some
light blue highlighted on it, that's the general fund. Something to note, the county clerk reporter line, at the top, and then the bottom line, revenue stamps. Those will also, reflect into GIS because they get a portion of all of our recorded documents. So the amount of land records that have been reported has decreased. And for the revenue stamps, which means we're bringing in less, for revenue stamps, 2021, 2022, 2023, it has been once a year, the revenue stamps, $1,000 would go into the general fund. I talked with the finance director and I told her, in 2021, we brought in 132,000. 2022, we brought in 112,000. 2023, it went down to 79. So, we had dropped that down to 85 to be conservative. Since it is a revenue, we want to be more accurate of what we're actually bringing in. So that also goes with the county clerk and recorder line item. The liquor licenses, we did pick up 2 annual licenses this year. I'm predicting that we're gonna lose 1 annual license, when that time comes around. So that's why there's no change there. Election judge reimbursement, since it's gonna be consolidated next year, we will have less election judges. We'll get reimbursed less from the state. The polling place accessibility grant, that's light blue because we have not got the applications yet from the state. And the voter registration grant, as I talked about in my report, we have received, note that we're gonna get that amount. Looking at the next sheet that has county clerk and reporter at the top. Only slight increases for the clerk and reporter budget with the resolution for my salary and the 4% COLA. Going down, our association dues have increased, so that line has also gone up. Looking at the election budgets, same thing with the salaries, 4% COLA. Keeping the part-time and the per diem about the same. And then printing paper and supplies, we are increasing that line, just with the cost of postage going up. We have postage for the vote by mail as well as the permanent vote by mail cards that we have to send out. You see the change in the grant, and then on page 2, I have a red line through the election equipment lease. The last payment for that will be in October. So we will no longer have to pay $50,000 a year for the equipment. So that's good news there. Mechanical document storage. I just decreased the revenue a little bit, as I was mentioning with the amount of reportings, to be in line with what was actually coming in. That being said, I had the expenses, budgeted a little bit less, so, we're bringing in more. Any questions?
I think it looks pretty good.
I'm sure we'll
Back and
discuss it
forth
again
a little bit on it. So,
next month.
all right. Let's see, where do we get? Get through all this one. Well, let's try to do
Oh, I can do it real quick, like,
supervisor assessment. We'll let you
So,
go
how about
for it,
we
see if we
do-
can finish or not.
well, I'll try, how about that? Quarter review is exactly the same. I did not change anything, I didn't, we bumped them up the last couple years or whatever, and things like that, so I didn't, exactly the same. If you want to do the supervisor of assessments, the only changes that I did was, I did ask for additional, another 2% for, my 2 employees that were there. They are very much, behind the, average of their salaries and stuff like that. Mine was just whatever was in the contract, and the only other line that I had to change were the 2 DevNet systems, and they're under contract, so just like with everything else increasing.
Well, thanks for including that.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
That was the biggest change, just because, I mean, the one girl that I have, she's been there 20 years.
Sure. Makes sense. Hang on, you gotta leave. Okay. We're
Yeah,
gonna jump down and
do we
do,
need to,
gonna jump down to 10.0. Any comments? And then 11.0 public comment. Did you have something for public comment?
Not really, we're just halfway decent. My only concern is, stipends for homes.
Yeah.
Get into a taxability issue.
Okay.
The application and sick leave approvals coming very shortly. That expense item, uh, at some point. So new GASB standards are coming out eventually. So just be on the lookout.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, with that, 12.0 adjournment.
I make the motion?
All those in favor say aye. 6:25.
Oh, look at you, Lynn.
We made it.
Woo.